If you haven't checked us out before, or this is the first time you're watching, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. Go over to patreon.com/workingfanspodcast. On average, our wrestling podcast on Patreon tend to be double the length of what makes it to YouTube, but we have classic interviews going up there, Combat Cast, unedited episodes as soon as we get done with them. The Royal Rumble nowadays isn't like it used to be. If you go up on our Patreon, we did some classic watch alongs, and it's really interesting how the Rumble has evolved over the years. I think I've asked you before, but I can't remember. Dave, where does the Royal Rumble fall in like your big four for WWE?
Consistently my favorite event. It's my favorite match because I love all the surprises and I love the fact that they don't overdo it. It's just once a year. Whereas like some events like War Games and stuff like that where you have to have two, show, it still feels kind of overdone. Elimination feels overdone at times. I almost want those to go away. But the Royal Rumble feels like a Super Bowl. It feels like it should happen once a year, and it does, and I look forward to that and its uniqueness. Sounds like a show, but that is it. Like it's a very unique event that hasn't been overdone, and yeah, I enjoy it. I want to get into this. It's funny, boy. I don't want to say anything almost because nobody wants to talk about this guy anymore. But Vince McMahon, not the person, but just the announcer from back in the day. Just the way he would this event in particular, those nostalgia, you put on an old, YouTube video or whatever, and you see the Royal Rumble, and it's like that song is like da 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 da. It hits every time with this event. Like I just love this event. I got a lot of favorite Royal Rumbles.
Yeah, you can hear our excitement in the watch alongs. Outside of the main Rumble matches, what have been some of your other favorite matches from the Royal Rumble? One that stands out for me, just because we watched it last week, was that Haku versus Harley Race. That was such a nice treasure that I had forgotten about, but that was great to go back and see.
So, funny story. I actually just found a YouTube video on this, and I wish I had remembered the name. I didn't know we'd be talking about this, but apparently that was a lost match at one point. Like, for whatever reason, it never made the original Coliseum home video, despite being on the pay-per-view. Years later, when WWE released many years later, decades, when they do the Royal Rumble anthology set, the match came back. So that match was missing for many years.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. And that's crazy because that's such a big match, but it's also, I bet part of it was just Vince's thoughts on Harley Race and trying to not make you think of as much about the NWA and just consider more WWE.
Yeah, someone speculated maybe Vince didn't even like the match or, time or something. But yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, memorable matches. Well, you asked me matches I like, but I can go with matches I like and memorable. It's tough. I didn't really think about this, but Bret Hart, Razor Ramon. Bret Hart defended the WWE Championship against Scott Hall at a Royal Rumble. Let's go memorable. Undertaker getting buried by Yokozuna and 14 other people. I want to say it was the 1994 Royal Rumble in Providence. AJ actually went to that one as a teenager. And that was where Bret and Luger went over the Royal Rumble later as a co-winner type event. 92, well, we're not talking about the Royal Rumble match itself. We'll get to that. But, there was a triple threat match years ago now, I want to say, with Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and Seth Rollins, where they just tore it up and stole the show. This is not a great match, but something I just remember as a kid because it shocked me. A bad guy, Sergeant Slaughter, beating the Ultimate Warrior with the help of Randy Savage cracking the scepter on Savage's head, and Slaughter getting the pin and winning the WF Championship in his 40s. I always find that very memorable because I just never saw that one coming at the time,
Yeah, I would say let's go more with Survivor Series memories or Royal Rumble memories would probably be better just because specific matches. One that I saw the other day that stood out to me was you were bringing up, I believe it was Greg Valentine in the leg guard for the figure four. And I was watching the submission match between him and Ron Garvin where that leg guard was in play. And it was funny that we had just been talking about it, and then I saw it there.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about, before we even get into favorite Royal Rumble matches, surprises this over the years, right? We just talked about it in the newer, but AJ Styles in 2016, that was a very big surprise. I don't know if you remember this, but you were at my house, so this is before we were ever doing the podcast.
Yeah, I do, because my brother was actually down watching it live, and I think that's how I found out about it, because it's I got the text.
Yes.
And then there was the reaction, and then seconds later we saw it on the TV.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I remember that so well with AJ Styles because I don't ever remember a a guy who never competed in WWE or WCW. You know what I mean? I mean, he did technically, but you know what I mean? Who was a big player just get called in to the WWE with no vignettes or anything like that as a surprise. Like, it's not like WWE to do that. They're usually more insecure back then with Vince McMahon, and they think, oh, they're not going to know who this guy is. But they didn't do that. They put AJ Styles out there, and it made for a really great memory and appearance.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest recent memories I can think of. Obviously, every year there's the different surprises in the Rumble. Outside of debuts, there's always somebody that comes back, somebody that makes an appearance. Kofi Kingston for years that trying to not get eliminated and finding different ways to avoid that. I'm wondering if that's something we're going to see this year continue.
I want to say it was the 95 Royal Rumble I watched recently. Vader had come into the WWF. It was like his first match. But like some of the other participants were like Dory Funk Jr., Doug Gilbert. And they had a couple of wrestlers from All Japan who made it that year. And the Headhunters, a team, I want to say from maybe Puerto Rico and FMW Japan. They had done a lot. Two heavier set African-American looking gentlemen who would do moonsault. Oh, some also might know them as the Mushroom Twins.
Legends.
Yeah.
Stranglemania there.
Yeah. So Vader eliminated both of them, by the way. But yeah, I mean, so it's funny to go back and watch these old Rumbles. I don't remember which one it was. It could have been that one, but Carlos Colon was in one of them as well. That's
if it's not that year, it's like pretty close because I know like Mil Mascaras was in one. That's one where he eliminated himself because he wasn't going to get eliminated by anybody.
Mick Foley did all three characters one year: Cactus Jack, Dude Love, and Mankind. That was the one.
That's big.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of my memories, and they're not even like individual ones. I just remember always renting those old Royal Rumbles and watching them, like whether it's 89, 90, 90, 92 sticks out. You can't talk about Royal Rumbles without talking about the 92 Rumble.
My favorite, just to see Ric Flair win the WWF Championship, like being the guy from the NWA, and then having those moments in the match where he's squaring off with guys like Rowdy Piper, Kerry Von Erich, and Greg Valentine, but also Boss Man, a.k.a. Bubba Rogers, right? And seeing Flair go for an hour and just the way that whole thing unfolded, like that was obviously my favorite. But it's funny, again, might be controversial to say, and we don't usually necessarily go into this too much, but one of my other favorite Royal Rumbles was probably 2004. Chris Benoit at the time was just this no nonsense, one of the best wrestlers in the world that you never were sure if he was ever going to get a shot to be a WWF champion. And he won that Royal Rumble and went to WrestleMania 10 that year. So like, I do remember that being at the time, like, wow, Benoit did it.
That wouldn't have been WrestleMania 10. Would that have been 20?
Oh, 20. 2004 Royal Rumble. But yes, it would have been WrestleMania 20. Yeah, it's very good.
And that's tough because when it's horrible what happened with Benoit, and that it makes it so tough to talk about him in retrospect. But if you think back to that time, he had been somebody that got a lot of fans' attention in WCW. They really enjoyed his style. And it's like, would it translate to the WWE? And that was the year that it seemed to finally click for him. And he was able to get that big moment eventually.
I mean, a lot of great memories in the Royal Rumble. Yeah, 92 is definitely the Royal Rumble for me. 95 was a good one. Shawn Michaels won that year for the first time. Yeah, I love the early 90s Rumbles. It seems like the 90s were kind of like really my peak in the fandom. Like even the ones Hogan won. Hogan wasn't really my guy, but I liked, those 90, 91 Royal Rumbles as well.
Yeah, WWF just really at its peak, all the great stars interacting in there. If you haven't had enough Royal Rumble talk, you can go on the WWE's channel. I believe they're playing like a nonstop watch party of Royal Rumbles. Go on our Patreon. We've got some Royal Rumble watch alongs